This is Off Track. Oh, man. It's the May Hangover. The May Hangover is a real thing. It's a really real thing.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if you were also hungover right now?
No.
Like, I'm not.
I sure can. I sure can imagine that.
Yeah. I thought, never mind. Yeah, but in our defense, or to counteract your point, you didn't really work as hard as the rest of us this month. You weren't even here the whole time. So
you didn't even run a marathon in the same trip you were here.
Yeah, that was totally the last trip.
Wait, okay. No, you did do the GP. I was going to ask if I was the only one of the three of us that finished a race this month, but you did do the GP at Barber. So I guess you did.
Yeah, dude. We worked Barber, then we worked the GP.
I mean, you talked about it.
Do you have any idea how much work that is sometimes?
It's so hard. It's
so hard. Let's not talk about the 30. No, what was it? 40, 50 something hour. I forget how many hours we did of broadcasting this month, on top of several live show podcasts and charity events and et cetera, et cetera. I just don't want to talk. But guys, we're going to be on a podcast for the next hour, so giddy up.
Special two-parter this week to really just keep talking.
Right. We figured, technically this is a Tuesday episode, but it's post 500 and everybody wants to hear about the 500. We don't want to wait till Thursday for that. So we're going to do the main show, which is going to be an extended main show cut up over 2 episodes, Tuesday and Thursday.
Part one's coming at you hot.
Part one's
heavy.
coming at you hard.
We're on fire.
Wow.
Where do we even start?
I mean, do we do it
so
chronologically?
much to happen.
Do we go back to, because what's important to remember is our last show was recorded on a Tuesday, and on Wednesday is when everything post-qualifying drama.
Oh God,
exploded.
I wasn't even thinking about that.
Yeah, so we have not talked about the Penske firings and the cars getting kicked to the back, or maybe we knew they were going to the back. I don't remember exactly the chronology.
I think we knew they were going to the back.
Yeah, I think we did.
Yes.
Yeah, we didn't talk about Cindric and
Yep. All of us need to say the other 2 names.
I forget.
Kyle Moyer and Ron Rzuski. Anyway.
Yes, I did know that. I just woke up.
That feels like it was a month ago.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it's not even that interesting to talk about anymore. That's how rapid things move. But no, listen, my apologies, guys. I'm quite ill. Thanks, Tim. I'm still going to blame this on you, even though you probably didn't do it. I'm still going to blame it on you.
Pretty sure I didn't, but yeah, I'll take it.
I like it.
I think we covered a lot in last week's episode about our thoughts and opinions and all of these things that happened, and I don't think it was necessarily a surprise that there was some action taken in terms of personnel, but the magnitude and the amount, I think, was a surprise. Wouldn't you agree with that, James?
1,000% on all points.
Because I mean, when things happen in corporations, forget motorsports, and there's a kind of black eye associated with said corporation, and if it happens once, there's usually a bit of a grace situation, and then it happens twice, and there's usually things that are adjusted and changed in the hierarchy of that organization. So, I guess all of that is understandable, but then when you look at the severity of the punishment versus the crime committed, right? I think that's another thing you have to take into consideration. It's I don't know that those 2 things necessarily add up.
Yeah, it was weird. It was weird because one thing I know we did cover was that the issue in qualifying was not some ace up the sleeve
software hack,
right? Secret performance enhancer, get an extra 50 horsepower kind of deal. It was a very minor detail that everybody agreed. I've heard other drivers on interviews and stuff publicly saying they're from a performance standpoint, it wasn't a big deal. It's a black and white rule, so yes, action needs to be taken. Whatever. So to Alex's point, especially given the previous, season and the issues that had there. Some changes were probably not surprising. The surprising part was you look at Cindric, Rzucki, and Moyer. Those are like the three top guys at the program for Penske's IndyCar deal. So you're just removing, like, it's like looking at an org chart and just just ripping the top off the page and kind of starting from scratch. That's a monumental thing to do. Now, again, this is where it gets kind of weird, is like, was that done because Roger just as a team owner, let's say he didn't have any say in anything else and was just the head of Penske Racing? Is that the decision that he makes because he doesn't like that twice in 2 years something of this magnitude happened? Or do we think it was an exaggerated response because of everything else?
Well, based on the penalty, I guess we'll never know, but based on the penalty, you'd have to bias towards the latter, right? Like, again, this is a attempt to, show that he is not approving of his team not being held to the highest standard of accountability. He's showing that he does not want the series and its reputation to be tarnished because of his team. And so actions are taken are arguably incredibly severe because of that, right? Had he, say, Chip owns the series, right? I don't think 3 people get fired because of this. I don't even know that one person gets fired. One person might get moved or demoted or suspended for a period of time, right? But like, if you think about these guys, I mean, especially Tim and Ron, who have committed their entire lives and careers to Team Penske and everything, and have been there through some incredible times, both positive and negative. Like, it's a huge decision, and I'm sure it's not one that Roger came by lightly. I'm not saying that Roger is wrong for doing this. I'm not saying that this is something that he wanted to do, but I feel like he probably felt that his hand was forced because of all of the conversation that was surrounding this issue. So I feel just like I felt bad for the kind of hate that Joseph and Will were getting. I feel terrible for TC and Ron and Kyle, because again, I don't think these people were in boardrooms being like, we need to putty the attenuator. Like, this wasn't some directive that was coming from them. Are they ultimately management? Does the buck stop with them? Like, it has to with someone, right? But yeah, I do feel very bad for them.
And again, I feel bad also for the drivers, because, TC has been on Joseph's stand for a very long time. Rzucki's been on Will's stand for a very long time. Moyer's been on McLaughlin's stand, I think, his entire IndyCar career. Mm-hmm. And these are like team, like,
critical people. Yeah.
This is like a mission critical position here, right? You got driver, engineer, and team manager / strategist. That's the guy on the radio to you. That's the person, like, you've had that voice in your helmet for however many years, and then they're just gone 3-4 days, whatever it was, before the biggest race of the year. That's a huge adjustment to make. And it's it's crazy. But again, we don't know what goes on behind closed doors. We don't know all the facts, and we don't know the whole story. It is what it is. It's done. A lot of people feel bad for a lot of people involved, but certain people thought that was the move that needed to be made.
So here's a wild scenario, and I'm not going to say who I was talking to about it, but I was talking to someone at Team Penske, and I was like,
"Who was it?"
No, and they were like, "Oh, do you want to know what's like?" I'm not really that concerned about this weekend in terms of like the restructuring and everything. It's like, I mean, the ship's already sailed, and we're pretty sorted, and all this sort of thing, and it's strategizing the Indy 500 and calling that race is a group effort anyways, right? It's never just one person's decision. This person was like, what I'm terrified about is showing up Monday to the office, because like all the people that are responsible for getting everything to Detroit and turning everything around and doing X, Y, and Z and logistics and all of this stuff are gone.
Right. Yeah.
Like it's now, it's not making race cars go fast that's a concern. It's like, oh, how do we do the simple because I've never done that before.
Because like we said, they are strategists / team managers for those individual cars, right? And it's the team manager part that's the bigger stress.
Yes, 100%.
Once you leave the racetrack.
And I was like, that's a great point. Good luck with that.
Managing the team is actually evidently the trickier bit.
I know we have a lot of other things to cover, but I did have 2 questions on this. I mean, one, how quickly do these 3 guys get job offers at other places?
I mean, they'll get offers. They got offers 8 minutes after the press release came out, but I imagine that there's some sort of like non-compete clause.
So does that apply when you're fired?
I have a question. I don't know. Yeah, I
don't think it does.
Like, can you? Because Indiana's a right to work state. Now this is Charlotte, I guess. But like, if you
quit, then there's the non-compete,
right? But if you get fired, I don't think there can be a non-compete, at least in Indiana.
Okay, so maybe, I mean, again, we know nothing. This is pure speculation. I have no idea. What if the team was like, I mean, if it was me, if I was in that kind of position, I'd be like, yeah, we're super firing you, but like sign this, here's a big check, and you're now quitting, and you have a non-compete for 6 months or whatever it is. But I don't know. I have no idea.
I guess we'll find out, but because you never want anybody to lose their job.
No, exactly. But the answer to your question, Tim, is all of their phones were ringing off the hook as soon as the news came out.
And then I guess the other follow-up question, there's no real answer to this, but I just think it's worth bringing up. You guys have talked about how it's silly if you're blaming the drivers on that. Completely agree. Taking that in and already understanding that it's silly to blame Joseph or Will for this, why do you think it is that so many people are mad at Joseph and not that many people are mad at Will?
Well, because it all reverts back to the push to pass thing, right?
Okay.
So ultimately, Will didn't do it. Ultimately, Scott did it, but immediately turned it off. And Joseph did it multiple times, right? So there's already this like idea of Joseph intentionally trying to do things. And so wrongly, this also gets attached to that.
Because Joseph's not putting Bondo on the car.
Of course not. Also because, there's a lot of differing opinions about how 2023 Indy 500 ended, right?
Okay.
And the confusion about like, why are we seeing something we've never seen before, and a Penske car ends up winning on a decision that was arguably made by Penske people to finish the race under green, right? You've got that. And then Bondo shows up in the museum on his car in 2024. So, I mean, it's all things that are actually irrelevant to Joseph, and Joseph is an innocent kind of bystander of it, minus the push to pass thing. But that's why, like, it's just things have built up, and Will hasn't been a party to really any of those other things.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thanks. Okay.
It's funny because I feel like I want to. No, I won't even get back into it. Doesn't matter.
All right. Well, then we had everybody. You made up 2 spots after qualifying before the race starts because of that.
We're going to skip over Carb Day, Tim?
No, I was going to get into that and then Carb Day, and then was going to point out later that you made up another spot, but I was just going to. Okay. It was a thing in my head. I'm tired.
Yeah, so I feel like your head's in a great place for us to be.
I don't love being in it.
Well, I mean, there was Monday practice, which was fine, I guess.
We talked about that because we did a live show in the Tower Terrace after that.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Thanks again for
James
Schwartzy coming on board.
That was cool.
So Carb Day, you heard the Carb Day show if you're a good human being.
Good for all of us for making an appearance, by the way.
Good for all of us for good for you and I for showing up. And big props to Tim and Joey for being
big
slogging
props
it
to
out.
Joey.
Yeah, big props to Joey. I had to be there.
That's
Joey
true.
didn't.
Big props. Hi, buddy. Oh, Sully looks so cute right now. Sorry.
Can I just say, I know we have other actual Carb Day stuff, but if you haven't listened to it yet, the interview with All American Rejects at the end of that was awesome. Those guys were so cool. I could have hung out with them for hours on those couches.
So Tim, you're not a big music guy.
No, I spent the rest of that night listening to All American Rejects again. No, I felt like I was back in high school.
Okay. Would you say like what is your favorite like 90s punk rock band?
I don't even know if I have one. Sugar Cult, does that count? Or were they more early 2000s? Yes, I know Sugar Cult.
I'm not sure I know
what that is.
They're a good one. I'm going to stick with that.
That's probably a smart move because neither one of us can comment on it and thus criticize you for it. So that was probably a good play. Good play.
Interesting. Anyways,
I'm going to golf clap that.
So what was so cool about them? Like I'm not going to listen.
They came out and just immediately made fun of Joey and I. Like they got the vibe right.
Maybe I'll listen
so quickly. They were just fun. It was they were engaged. All the questions were cool. And don't get me wrong, Creed was also awesome. Just All American Rejects felt like four guys I just want to go hang out with.
So let me ask this question because I tried really hard to beat this into you beforehand. While you were interviewing Creed, did you guys make silly Creed puns using their lyrics?
We did a little bit. It was kind of hard because we were up against the Oscar Mayer Wienermobile race, which is just like an absurd statement that like we were interviewing Creed while Oscar Mayer Wienermobiles were racing.
Well,
we lost a lot of crowd for that.
Right. Okay. Let's get to that.
The fix was in, right? They faked that.
Your car, I don't know. Your carb day practice was kind of irrelevant because you broke apart. Actually, no, sorry. I do need to ask this question. So we're watching the broadcast. You have 5 laps on the board and we see the 20 rolling back through Gas Alley. And the report back from one of our pit reporters was there is a water pump failure. Is this correct?
I mean, yes.
Cool. Water pump failure. And so you were leaking fluids. Very happy that didn't cause an accident because water leaking onto your rear tires at speed could be bad.
Don't worry. We tried something like that later.
Cool. You did sort of do that. That's true. Here was and then it was cars not expected to make it back out in practice because they had to go to Detroit to get a new part.
They did not have to go to Detroit. Detroit had to come to us.
Sorry, a part was having to be sent from Detroit. So my question was, I could not fathom that there was any part of an IndyCar or the engines or the electronics or the whatever. I could not fathom that there was any part that bolts onto an IndyCar at the Indy 500 that there wasn't one spare of on the entire property.
So, fair. You're taking this incredibly literally. There was a water pump. The water pumps are internal. This was the last that we were not going to get an opportunity to run the car again. So they wanted an engine builder to come down from Detroit to tear apart the engine to reinstall a water pump. So it had nothing to do with the part not being there. It was because there was going to be no leak check, no install. They wanted an engine builder to do it. And here's what's badass about this guy. He got the call, and he was like, "Yep, no problem." Got on his motorcycle,
nice,
with a little like I you not borderline IKEA like all-in-one toolkit. I mean, it wasn't that, but like that same size and look, right?
Yeah.
Rolls down to Indianapolis, drives his bike up to the garage, hops off, bike boots on, the car's already prepped and ready, does his thing, 25 minutes, doesn't take his bike boots off, gets back on, heads to Detroit. Thank you very much. No problem. Like, as far as like mechanics and like nerds go, like that's badass.
That is pretty. That's a lot of riding in one day. That's about a 4-hour ride. Unless he was just ripping it. Okay. So that clears that up. Thank you for clearing that up because I was a little bit surprised by that information. Yes. So then the Weenie 500. Oscar Mayer with a objectively brilliant marketing move to have all 6 of the Oscar Mayer Wienermobiles racing around the speedway. Tim, you didn't watch it because you were interviewing Creed. Alex, I assume you had it on in the garage, but weren't really paying too much attention.
Well, no, because I was at a job house activation, and also don't care. Like, I'm sorry, I don't think it is. I didn't like it. I thought it's dumb. I thought it's a little bit lame to have. I mean, that might not be a popular opinion, but like, this is the Indianapolis 500, and we're watching stupid hot dog trucks go around at 25 mile an hour in a stage race. Like, what are we doing? Like, I'm sorry.
I objectively don't disagree. I was very shocked when like the idea first was pitched. I'm like, that's really happening. I remember T-Bell and I looked at each other. We're like, there's no way Roger knows this is going on. This is gonna get canned before it ever happens. But dude, the buy-in from the audience, like fans loved it.
Do you think you could love it if you are not under 10 or sober?
The second one makes it tough. I don't know. I'm not sure. I think yes. I think you could, based on
really,
like
as a 30-year-old sober person, you think you'd enjoy that?
Me personally, no.
Any?
Yes. And I'm only saying that, but like the post that we made on it was like the most. I got more responses to a story about the Weenie 500 before it happened than any other post.
Do you think it's just because it's the word weenie?
I think it's just
matter.
It's the absurdity of it.
Right.
I think there's something.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's taking Wienermobiles going around the track.
There was prop bets on like the length of the anthem, which was the Oscar Mayer Wiener song, which was also very funny.
That was funny.
It was done well, and like all the pilots, all the drivers had like, you know, like corny names that were hot dog related or whatever. It was done very well. I was shocked to see it happen at the Indianapolis, but if we were in Milwaukee, yeah, I get it. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense in Milwaukee. I was floored that it happened at the Speedway. And obviously we had to call it, and we had to call it using just an absolute boatload of puns and terrible wiener jokes. But there were people on their feet. There were like hundreds of people in full hot dog costumes in the stands, having a blast, having a great time. It was, look, if we can't have the Freedom 100.
No, don't say that. Don't put those in the same
I would rather have
James.
the Freedom 100, just so we're clear.
No, I mean, okay, here's this is a good comparison. And maybe I'm just Scrooge, but like, I also think the Puppy Bowl during the Super Bowl is stupid.
Yes.
Do you agree with that?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So we're the same.
We're the same, but here's the thing. This is the thing. Let's say you can't be over 30 and sober and still like it. We want a younger audience. Like if this got a bunch of 10 to 12-year-olds to think it was awesome, then awesome, cool. Like Hazel loved it. That's a great example. So, but again, I do think,
to the point where she left my show. Her dad, like us doing the live show, which I call it mine because you and Alex weren't there, but she left watching me, her dad, on stage talking to a massive band to go watch the Oscar Mayer Wieners race. And honestly, couldn't blame her. Like,
no,
it was
no. I was, again, I'm not gonna lie, I was skeptical, but then when I saw the fan reaction, I'm like, okay, it's something. And if there's a day to do it, I mean, Carb Day that makes a lot of sense on Carb Day. I definitely get that part, but I think it'll be back next year. I think it's gonna be a new thing. You know, Nathan's has their 4th of July hot dog eating concert or contest, and Oscar Mayer's gonna have the Weenie 500. So my biggest fear is that we've got to come up with a whole new raft of wiener jokes for the broadcast. I will say, I
relish
watched the clips of the broadcast, and it was incredible, like how well you three did. Because like, I don't know how you can talk about such a thing. Like I was flabbergasted, but
dude,
good job. Constant professionals. Tim, our producer, is texting us, telling us what to do on the show, guys. So sorry for the abrupt change. He wants us to talk about. Okay.
Hang on. Let's just get through one more thing on Carb Day. Then we can talk about Tim's topic. And then we can, I don't know, end part one. Because Carb Day's not over. Because it went to the pit stop competition. And the pit stop competition was absolutely blitzed by Penske.
Shocker.
Which, dude, it was shocking how fast they broke their own record by like three. Like Joseph broke his own record like 3 times.
Yeah.
And it was like 7/10 faster than the record from previous. But my favorite part about the pit stop competition was you won your first round, right? And first of all, I love the pit stop competition. I'm just going to throw that out there objectively. It's an awesome event. I love that the crew gets to be the spotlight. It's about what they do because what they do is very difficult and they put a lot of effort into it. And Rocket, the tech guy that puts it all on, I mean, it's $150,000 worth of prizes all in. It's awesome. I really, really love it. So Alex wins his first one and he gets out of the car and he's walking back towards the staging area in his helmet. And like Alex walking through the paddock with his helmet just cuts this very like specific figure, right? Your body language when you're just kind of walking, it's tough to explain. But so we've got, and I was like, and you're just like, you could be walking through a shopping mall. Like there's nothing to decipher what kind of mood you're in or whatever. So I was making this joke. I was like, oh, Alex is very happy with that run. You can see it in his body language and you're just walking like as normally as you could possibly be walking. Right. And then when you lost, I forget if it was the next one or the one after, when you eventually got eliminated, you're doing the exact same walk back. I'm like, oh, see here, notice the subtle differences in his stride. And I was trying to get them to put a side by side of the two shots of you walking back to like circle the very, very noticeable differences in your body language that were identical.
Yeah.
But I couldn't get it in there, but I really wanted to. It was just funny. Anyway. Congrats to Team Penske. They came first and second in the pit stop competition.
I've done the pit stop competition now. This is I think my 3rd time. I did it once with Andretti, once with McLaren, and now once with ECR. And this is the first time I've ever not gotten eliminated on the first round. So I was pretty happy. Pretty cool.
Made it through. Okay, so Tim now wants us to pivot. We're going to skip ahead. Excuse me. To discuss the post-race penalties that were assessed on Monday. So Monday after the race, 3 post-race tech penalties were announced. The
executions.
The 28, Marcus Ericsson, 27, Kyle Kirkwood, and the number 90 of Callum Ilott. Both the Andretti cars for the same infraction, a different one on Ilott, got bounced from the race, essentially. I guess it's not a disqualification. They got moved to the 3 last positions. So they were classified as 31st, 2nd, and 3rd. I mean, as if Marcus's day wasn't already bad enough.
Well, I mean,
like
he thought it was bad.
He thought it was bad. And boy, did it get worse.
Yeah.
Boy, did it get worse. Because now not only are you looking at, oh my God, what could I have done differently? And just missing out on the Indy 500. Now you also lose like 40 points and $1 million, which is a pretty big kick in the nuts.
And like he was having a tough season. So like he went from like getting himself towards the top 10 of the championship to now immediately being 20th. Like it's a big kick in the for Marcus, just from a points perspective. Forget the glory of it. Forget the money. Like that's painful in the championship for him.
Do we know what the infraction was?
Yes, Tim, we do.
I don't. I tried to look it up yesterday and I didn't see anything about it. It just said there were modifications to the car.
Listen, IndyCar is as much as it is a spec series. There is a lot of when you've had a car for this long, there is a lot of optimization that is done to all of the components, right? In terms of you've had the thing long enough and you fiddle with things in our 6-month off season, and you find little ways to install stuff better, and you make body fit better, and all of these little things. We talked about last week with the Bondo on the attenuator, if that's what we're calling it. Like, it wasn't that by itself was nothing. It's all these little things you're trying to do to subtly improve the level of the build of the car. And so the components, at least on the Andretti cars, it was purely a build quality situation. On the 90 car, like, the thing that happened, you could argue that maybe it's a new team and they don't maybe understand all of the ways that the regulation works, or maybe I talked to Callum in the race and he said that he had some contact on that side of the front wing. So maybe that was enough to put it out of spec. Again, though, we are seeing a very new trend in the series where these are not intentional, malicious cheats, if you will. These are people working in the gray area of the rules. These are people, maybe not fully understanding the rule book because they've been doing things for this way for the past decade and nothing's been said about it. And so they just don't even realize that it's not legal. It's been going on for so long. So I wonder how much of that is existing.
So that was going to be my follow-up. Is it like a new rash of this, or is it just getting caught now? Is it just getting punished now? Is it a little bit of all of the above? Or we don't know because we're not in race control.
We don't know. We're not in race control. It is interesting though, with everything that happened after qualifying and the way that the paddock reacted, which led to what felt like an exaggerated response. I can't help but feel, and I could be totally off base here, but like, to Alex's point, like, a lot of this stuff's been done and there are gray areas that are, look, it's engineers' jobs to like interpret things a certain way to try to find a competitive advantage, right? Like, that's the game, right? It's not intentionally trying to break a rule. It's, I read it this way, so I think this makes sense. But have we now set a new precedent? Right? Is what happened in qualifying and the subsequent response now the level at which we're going to be seeing tech operate and the level at which penalties will be issued? If that's the case, fine, as long as it stays at this level now until there's some announced change. Because if you know that being 0.01% outside the tolerance of the rules leads to this level and this severity of penalty, you are going to back off your adjustments to leave a slightly bigger margin, which is fine. If you want every rule to be black and white, in or out, harsh penalties, cool, awesome. Everyone's just going to have to recalibrate their deal. It just seemed like the timing of it seems a little strange.
Yeah, I mean, I also wonder how much of this is this, I don't want to put words in his mouth because he hasn't said this, but is this the type of IndyCar that Doug Bowles wants? Doug Bowles was brought into the head of competition for IndyCar and all this sort of thing. And, he's worked on the team side before and all this sort of thing. So is this a mindset shift because it's a personnel shift? Is he like, listen, this is the rule book. It's not my job to make sure you follow the rule book. You've had the rule book. Your professional race teams, your professional organizations, follow the rule book or you'll be penalized. And that could just be the way that he wants to do it. And also, like you said, James, that's totally fine as long as that's the way it's done. But I certainly think teams are probably now like reconsidering a lot of things, especially going into Detroit. Like, holy like, yes, this is legal, but it's barely legal. Should we pull it off the car? Like, what do we do about this, and this? Because like, these are, again, we talked about the points. Like, that's a huge deal. $100,000 is not a small fine, right? Like, that's
especially when you're also losing the prize money
exactly
that
like
you would have been earning.
This is a big penalty. So I think teams are now probably feeling like they're walking on eggshells. So I mean, it is interesting. It's a strange thing to have this sort of seemingly monumental shift in the middle of the season. I mean, I can't imagine that nothing in the gray area was caught in the first 5 races, but
this is the part that I find weird, right? Like if that was the deal from the get-go, cool. But to your point, it seems weird that it's only after all this sort of came out at the Speedway that, but again, look, as long as it's a tough one. But at the same time, I never will forget Texas 2016. We come second in the race. My floor was worn.
Oh, I'm aware.
Point 0.6,
giving everyone spark showers.
Yep, points, but it was 0.6 of a millimeter too far past the thing, right? So, is it an advantage? It's certainly not a disadvantage, right? Excuse me. This was at Texas, and we got docked 25 points and $25,000 or whatever. A few years prior to that, Justin Wilson won the race with Dale Coyne, and he had full-on aerodynamic components bolted onto the car that were not allowed to be on the car that add downforce, right? Won the race. He got a $5,000 fine. That was it. So when our penalty got announced, I text Jay Fry, who was in his first year at the series, and said, Jay, this is bull, because a few years ago, Justin won the race with very obvious bolted on parts that he shouldn't have. The race that I got, docked for, we showed up, we had a 10-minute practice session that we weren't allowed to adjust the car after because it was that August race. So the ride heights were a fraction off. It was 0.6 of a mil, and I get a 25-point penalty. And his response was, I wasn't running things back in 2012. And I was like, that's a good argument. That's kind of the only argument that I would have not continued to lose my mind over. So now it's a different person in charge. And so maybe that's just the shift. There's a lot of talk about all the tech stuff and the conflict of interest that exists or whatever. The other thing that we sort of missed last week was the interview with Roger. And in that interview, he said something that I think was music to the ears of a lot of people in the paddock. And don't get me wrong, there's still a lot of details to work out here, but IndyCar is in the process of creating a system whereby tech and race control would be independently run and not actually controlled by IndyCar. So there are different ways to go about that, and I know that they are exploring a few different avenues. I think there are pros and cons to the different ones that I've kind of heard being kicked around. But ultimately, this is something that IndyCar has been actually working on for months and is not being done in reaction to what happened at the Speedway. I kind of wish they had shared more of that, what was happening behind the scenes, and maybe people wouldn't have lost their minds so much, over qualifying weekend. But if we can get to a point where by next year, race control and tech are independently operated and can't be influenced in that respect, that's a huge step forward for the series, I think.
I couldn't agree more. I think that it shows that despite all of the accusations or opinions or anything, like the priority of Penske Entertainment and Roger is the health of this series, and he does care deeply about it more than just it's an avenue for the Indy 500, and he wants it to be a championship that is held in high regard and is some of the best teams and drivers competing across North America, and that is very clear through all of this. Like this is not just a byproduct of something that he purchased as a package deal. So it'll be interesting to see how that evolves. Obviously, none of that's going to come in 2025, but would be very cool and I think exciting for everyone, not only teams, drivers, and the such, but also fans to know that there would be an independent body going forward in the future.
Well, we look forward to learning more about that as more becomes known. And we've kind of covered now everything up to the race. So we're going to stop it here for Tuesday. Thanks for listening, guys. But make sure you check in on Thursday, where we're going to get into everything that was the 200 laps of the Indy 500. This has been Off Track with Hinch and Rossi. Off Track is part of the SiriusXM Sports Podcast Network. If you enjoyed this episode and want to hear more, please give a 5-star rating and leave a review. Subscribe today wherever you stream your podcasts. We are at Ask Off Track on Twitter and Instagram, and if you want to follow us on Twitter, we're at Hinchtown and at Alexander Rossi. If you want to follow Tim, though we have no idea why you would, he's at the Tim Durham on Twitter. Find us on YouTube and subscribe to our channel for exclusive video content. Off Track is produced by Tim Durham, and by that we mean Tim.